Thank you. This is an honor to be here. I would like to talk to you about the project where I've integrated open educational resources in my introductory psychology courses. This project is a pilot project. It involves these 5 stages: research into open educational resources that are applicable for my psychology courses, the design of curriculum in order to align with the course outcomes as they are specified by the department, the creation, the allowance of individualized learning pathways for students, the allowance for inquiry-based learning in our learning management system, and the way in which the material is presented, delivered. And I am using a blended method of both synchronous and asynchronous methods of delivery. So the overarching goal of this project is to broaden access to education by lowering the cost of learning to students, all the while delivering a high quality educational experience. Originally launched by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, open educational resources expansion and growth is largely due to the advanced digital technologies and the collaborative efforts of educators and digital designers and institutions working jointly to mitigate the financial barriers that too often limit student success. Through direct editing by the authors, the digital resources are updated instantaneously and give users continually improved and up-to-date academic content. This is particularly relevant when compared to information published in journals or textbooks, which may take months or even years to become available. Along with the rapid dissemination of information to their users comes flexible access. All students need to access the book is Wi-Fi. With improved access to digital content, this allows students to adjust their study time around other activities and work-life demands. So this was my initial research in open educational resource as a broad area. And then I focused specifically in the open educational resources that are available for psychology, for my discipline. And so I found the Diener Education Fund, which is founded by Drs. Ed and Carol Diener, who are both psychologists. This is a nonprofit organization founded with the mission of reinventing higher education to serve the changing needs of students and professors. The initial focus is on making information, especially of the type that is found in textbooks, widely available to people of all backgrounds. This mission is embodied in the NOBA project website, which makes content available that is authored by a collection of experts and authorities in the field. So this foundation provides course release for experts in the field to write on their specific expertise and build that content into the NOBA project website. So that was the second part of my research into OERs. And then what I did is I used a collection of thematic modules that mirror the chapters common to most introductory psychology textbooks, and I integrated those in the college's learning management system, which is Blackboard. So instruction was achieved by dual reliance on the content generated by me, as well as the open educational resources available through NOBA Learning Project. So the next step was to design the content. And so for that, I used the backward design, which was developed by Wiggins and McTighe. And their book is titled Understanding by Design. So I used that expression, and I borrowed by that expression to title mine Teaching by Design. So I used the backward design, starting with the proficiencies and the understanding, the knowledge that the student will achieve through this course. And then I build module-specific outcomes that align with those course outcomes. Then I build assessments that will allow us to determine whether students have demonstrated the learning. And then I build the instructional material, so the learning experience and the instruction, in order for students to achieve those outcomes. So this framework informed the design of the course content through the focus on the proficiencies and the knowledge that the student will be able to demonstrate as the starting point. So I designed a lecture material with royalty-free images, as well as images that I was able to access through my Adobe Stock account. Then I designed assessments that align and allow us to determine whether students have met those learning outcomes. And so students completed low-stakes 4-credit assignments in the form of quizzes. And these quizzes are consistent with what is described as test-enhanced learning. So these quizzes present students with additional and targeted practices that supplements the online in-class experience and allows for student-directed study. So test-enhanced learning describes that students can memorize information more readily if they study, take a break, and then come back and effortlessly and actively retrieve the information. So the study test sequence builds a stronger pathway in the brain and a stronger trace of the information and leads to gains in long-term memory. And this is supported by findings published by Roediger and his colleagues. And it's also based on work by an important scholar and thinker of the 19th century, who was the first to express ideas about memory and plasticity in neural networks. These ideas foreshadowed many aspects of contemporary theories of psychology and neurobiology. And so, as William James had said, it pays better to study, wait, and recollect by an effort from within than to study for the same amount of time. So this is also consistent with the work of another important scholar, Dr. Donald Hebb, who wrote what is called commonly referred to as Hebb's rule. And Hebb's rule describes that cells that fire together wire together. And so he is a pioneer in the field of neuroscience and in describing circuit remodeling. It helps to explain how the wiring of the brain can be fine-tuned in response to sensory input. In other words, the simultaneous activation of nearby neurons leads to an increase in the strength of synaptic connection between them and supports learning and memory. So this general framework has been integral to the field of behavioral neuroscience for the last 70 years and describes the development of neural networks that result from new experiences and the formation of new memories. In the course, I also integrated what is known as inquiry-based activities where students analyze studies, case-based studies and simulations in psychology through open access videos, and they connect the elements of the narrative to relevant parts of the curriculum. And so this has them, there's a balance between theory and applying the theory in order to solve problems. The method of instruction was blended. So there were asynchronous recordings of screencasts that students went through on their own time. And then we met for synchronous sessions where I reviewed the content, so allowing them to rehearse, to review, and answered questions and went through class discussion. And that's it. I want to say a big thank you to the Red Deer College students who enrolled in my courses so far. It has been the most rewarding experience. And thank you for your time.